Hello and welcome to this week's devlog video of my project Mini Countries. This time I'm about to show you how I finalized the port building implementation. I show you how I added the pathfinding for the ship, which is now sailing to and from the port in a specific time circle. I explain what problems came up when testing the new port implementation and what I'm about to do against those problems. Let's start the video after the intro. At the beginning I want to start showing you the new ship model for the port building. Whenever a ship has reached the port, the player is able to exchange resources to import as well as to export. I used the nav mesh component the ship can drive on. Of course, the ship should have obstacles so it's not driving through the map to get to its destination. For this I used nav mesh obstacles, which has been assigned to all items which should influence the ship, most of all the tiles itself. When everything was set up correctly, the ship now drives the correct way to the destination. If you go to the scene view in Unity, you can see how the nav mesh looks like when it has been generated. In the last video I was talking about the new port pop-up and its logistical problems. I finished the implementation and recognized that this works quite well for the port, but when playing the game I realized that there is a conceptual problem at another building in the game. To remember, I changed the automated resource delivery for the port and added the function to request resources when the player wants to export them. So if the player wants to export 2 wood resources, the storage sends them to finalize the transaction. But there is a building which does not work the way, and that's the storage building. The storage is used to store all different kind of resources which are produced by the different trade buildings. It has a maximum stock of 25 resources, and so it contains a lot of different resources. When a city needs a resource which cannot be delivered by a trade, it looks for it in the storage, and if it's available, it will be sent over to the city. But if a storage is connected to an industry building to create better resources, currently all resources will be sent over to the industry to have them available, to have the choice what resource should be improved. There is no way to tell the storage, please just send a specific amount of resources over to the storage because it is needed for connected cities as well, or something like that. When facing that problem, I had 2 ideas in my mind which could solve the problem. First, I could add something like the port implementation for the industry as well, so I can choose what resources should be sent and what should not. So I had to extend the industry pop-up UI, and it would make everything more complex, and one of the main goals of the project was to keep it simple. The second idea was to make a big concept change, which I wanted to avoid on the one hand, but on the other I remember the initial idea of the game, and that was to make it very minimalistic. When playing the game I had some idle time and I already put a task on my to-do list to think about something which could occupy the player, and the new idea would definitely do that. Over the last couple of days I made a new eye to go for the second idea, which is having less automation and more user interaction by sending resources using drag and drop. Since a lot of you want to play Mini Countries on mobile or the Nintendo Switch, this is a way much better approach than the previous implementation. I'm still looking for an even simpler way to handle the transport and the UI look, but that's what I want to do in the upcoming weeks. What I've added so far is a new temporary UI which shows the resources in stock, and you can now choose an amount of a single resource to put it to the transport slot to finally drag it to a connected building. If a building is not connected to the current one, you see that the transport is not possible by the red background indicator. If there is a valid connection, it turns green and the transport will be started instantly. The last thing I've added was the transport considering the resources stock limits. There is a limit of 5 for resources being stored in a building, and in case there are already 3 resources in the destination building and you want to transport another 3 resources of the same type, the indicator turns yellow when dragging over it. Nevertheless, the transport can be activated, but only the possible 2 resources will be sent and 1 resources will stay in the origin building. As already mentioned, I still think about how to improve the UI for this kind of concept, and I hope I can show it to you in one of the next devlogs. And that's it for this week's video. If you think Mini Countries is going to be a nice and fun game for you, don't forget to visit the Steam page down in the description to wishlist the game. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, that would be very much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, have a great start into the next week. Stay healthy and see you next time. Cheers.